Hello and welcome to Ibrahim Rants, the show where I moan and complain about a random topic for 25 minutes or less. Well, today I'm not actually moaning and complaining. Today I'm actually telling a story, and it's a follow-up to Season 2, Episode 2, the episode where we talked about our school stories. If you haven't seen that one already, I'd recommend watching it. It's one of my favorite episodes. If I was to ever recommend an episode to anyone, well, it probably wouldn't be that one because it's not really a debating one, but I would recommend that as a second place. It's an episode where we talk about how Sauna's head teacher embezzled school funds. We talk about the time that Junaid slapped a teacher, and we talk about the remote story, my infamous remote story, the time I, in quotation marks, stole a remote, which I didn't actually do. All sorts of stuff. I think it's a very interesting episode, so I think you should watch it. And by watching it, you would get a little bit of context. I don't think you really need to see it in order to understand this episode, but that would add a little bit of context if it really mattered, but it's not really a requirement. But in that episode, I essentially said that there were 4 stories that people never let me forget in my school career. And the first small one was the time I got pushed into a curtain by a girl in year 7. Then there was the time that the lockers fell on me in year 6. The remote story where I, quotation marks, stole a remote, and the first time I had a girlfriend and I left her in a fish and chip shop. And I've told the first 3. Today I'm going to tell the fish and chip story because I never actually got a chance to tell this one because we ran out of time. And it's a pretty large story. So without further ado, I'll tell it now. So firstly, before I start, I think I should explain why I fell for this lady. I'm not going to name her because I don't want to embarrass her. What name should I use? Clarkson. Her name's gonna be Clarkson. I know that's the guy's name. I don't give a shit. Alright, Clarkson. So why did I fall for Clarkson? To be honest with you, in that time I was a very, you play the world's smallest violin. I was a heavily bullied kid back in primary and throughout a lot of my life. So I didn't have the highest self-esteem. So some of the higher people that I found really, really attractive, I didn't really go for them because I was like, and then I'm not in their league at all. They're way too high. They're way out of my league. I can't do anything like that. So I decided, you know what? I need to put my sights a little bit lower. And I realize now as I'm saying this, it sounds like an insult. I promise you I'm not insulting Clarkson, right? That's not an insult, I swear. All right. Well, anyway, I saw Clarkson and she was pretty nice as well. I was like, oh yeah, I think this is something that I think this is someone that I probably stand a chance with. So I was like, okay, this is who I'll aim for. And this is like year 11, I believe. Yeah, year 11. So love was in the air. Everyone wants a girlfriend, and there were some couples in the school, though I don't think they lasted very long. But I was like, okay, this is the one. This is who I want to go out with. We exchanged some conversations. We did speak quite a bit. I remember it was, we got along. Like we were friendly. We were on friendly terms. After this story, I don't know if this is like. I don't know if I should tell this now or at the end, but because this is completely unscripted, so I'm just going off the top of my head here. Might as well mention it now. After this, we're not on bad terms. I still think she's pretty cool. I don't talk to her anymore, but I think she's a good person. I'm fine with her. Like, I don't have any beef. If anything, she should have beef with me because I was the one who screwed up everything. But I don't think there's any problems between us or anything. She's a very calm, cool person who doesn't get angry when she really should, because I was an absolute idiot. But we'll get to that. So anyway, this is during drama. She was in my drama class, and there was this guy. He was a bit of a dick. I don't know what to call him. We'll just call him Dick. I don't know, short for Richard, but his name wasn't Richard, but we'll just call him Dick. All right. So there was this guy named Dick, and he basically said, I told someone else, a friend of mine, about this crush, because this is one of the things that I hated that I did, is that I told people. I didn't tell many people, I only told a few people, but the person I told then told Dick, who was an absolute, he was an absolute dick, and he decided, you know what, he messaged me, he threatened me, he said, if you do not tell her, then I'm going to tell her for you. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to now, even though I was never actually planning to, ever. Because I didn't have the confidence at all. Remember, I had the confidence of like a dead slug when it came to asking people out and things like that. And on top of that, I didn't really have any experience in dating. Here's where we get to the biggest thing, and that is maturity. And this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I mentioned it in the episode as well. I was very late to the party for everything. I hit my growth spurt late. I grew my facial hair late. Everything came late. And part of that, one of the things that came the most late was mental maturity. Mentally, I matured a lot later than everyone else. So, I can just, from the beginning, when people were leaving certain joke phases, when things stopped being funny, I was just entering them. So I was a very cringy kid, I remember. I don't want to talk about my year 7 self. I don't want to talk about that. Me in year 7, oh man, I'm getting bad memories. But anyway, I was very late to the party when it came to maturity. And part of that was in relationships. I didn't know what to do in a relationship. I didn't even know what a relationship was, really. I was like, okay, what's part of holding hands? I was like, I didn't know what to do. Obviously, now I have a bit of a clue. But back then, I didn't really know. So anyway, I was like, okay, well, I think she's pretty attractive. I think we get along. All right, bam, done, sorted. This is the one. I didn't think it through at all. I didn't think through any of the details at all. I just went for it. And so eventually, it came to I remember I was driving to Birmingham, I believe. I was driving to Birmingham, but I promise you I'm not a wrong'un, by the way. But anyway, it came to I was on my phone on WhatsApp and I was contemplating it. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Thinking of it now, I still remember how intense it was. Obviously, it's like secondary school romance. It's not a very big thing in the large jump scale of things. But this is my first romance. This is a big deal to me at the time. And so I contemplated it. I said, okay, you know what? If she's gonna find out, I'd rather she find out in my own terms. If I am the one telling her instead of someone else. And so I told her over text, which is something that you're not supposed to do, but there was a 0% chance that there was a higher chance or a higher likelihood of me getting struck by lightning than me telling her in person. I didn't have that ability at the time. And so I told her over text. I forget exactly what I said. I lost those messages, but it was probably something along the lines of, oh, I like you. I don't know, something sappy. Anyway, she says yes after a while. I remember her message. She was like, oh, I don't know what to say. Yes, after a while. And I think she was like, oh, I don't know what to say. And then I was like, oh, well, take your time. You can think about it. And then she said yes out of the blue. And I was like, okay, bang, done. I'm in. This is it. And then I learned a very valuable lesson. And that is maintaining a relationship is a lot harder than actually getting a relationship. That's the easy bit. So all of us alone, forever alone, because after I fumble with that bag, I'm not getting another one. I can already see. I'm going to be forever alone for the rest of my life. But anyway, after I fumbled the bag, I learned that lesson that it takes a lot to maintain a relationship. A lot that I did not have at the time. So anyway, the whole gist of the entire thing is a bit, it's a bit boring, but, we met. I remember it was very awkward. We were in a place called Homework Club, and that's where we met after the whole debacle afterwards. So after she said yes, and then we talked. I remember we went on a date that day to the corner shop. Very, very nice place to go out for a date, I'm sure you can imagine. We walked around, we talked, I guess. I don't remember exactly what we talked about. I remember I asked her her favourite colour. That's a conversation starter, When it comes to small talk, favourite colour, that's the one you want to go on. I was a real charmer back then, as you can clearly tell. Well, anyway, there was a big issue, and that was a mental block in my head. See, I was in this phase where I was a Muslim, but I was also in that teenage rebellious phase. So I wanted a girlfriend, but you're not supposed to have one in Islam. It's not really a thing. So in my head had a very big mental block. I was like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be... That went into my head, and that applies to all sorts of things. Even when, it's sort of like that indoctrination sort of thing. And well, anyway, I had this block in my head, and I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is like that huge amount of guilt. And so I found it really difficult to engage with her in the school because I was ashamed. I was like, okay, I don't want people to see me. And I was like, okay, can we because people used to make out on the chairs in public or in the line towards the tuck shop, which was where we got our food. And everyone was like, you could see those people, but I didn't want that. So I told her, oh, maybe we should stay with our friends during school times, and maybe we should just do it outside. And she was like, okay, yeah, sure. She was, like I said, Clarkson was a very, very calm person. She was one of those people that, she was calm to a fault. She was very nice to a fault, I feel like. When I did something really bad, she was very forgiving of it, which I did do something very bad, which I'll get to. And because of that, she was also very accepting and willing to do what I was saying. So whenever I said something, she was usually willing to do it. But now we hit some of the walls. Firstly, I hate to say I'm sorry, Clarkson, but she was a very dry texter. Extremely dry. So usually I'd try and start a conversation and she'd reply with okay, or yeah, or sure. Yeah, one sentence answers. I can't continue a conversation like that, okay? I can't do it. I don't want it to get awkward. Like, what am I supposed to do? That was the biggest issue. I was like, oh my god, I can't do this here. I'm already, at this point, really introverted. I'm already struggling. And that's why I think two introverted people, I don't understand how people make that work. I don't understand it. Or having one extremely introverted and one extremely extroverted. But I don't understand how that works, because people are such dry texters. How do you do that? Well, anyway, that was a big issue. And so things got a bit awkward. If you want to know how far I got with her, we didn't even hold hands. That didn't even happen. I don't think there was ever any contact at all. I personally don't even count it as a relationship. If people ask me, have you ever been in a relationship before? I'd answer no, because I don't think that counts, to be honest with you. I don't think it counts. But anyway, this is where we reach the main meat and potatoes of the story. This is all the backbone and the start of the story. Extra details. I remember we had a drama. We were both in drama. Remember, we had this like drama thing that we had to do, and one of my friends got put in a group like as a partner, and I remember getting really jealous about that. What else? I mean, there wasn't much. I remember one time she came up to me. I was playing a shopkeeper, and she was like, "Oh, I want to buy some gum," you know, like a little joke. But because obviously I had a crush on her, I remember that for ages. I was like, "Yo, she came up and talked to me." It was a thing. That was the whole situation. But anyway, to the story. This took place in Swanage. So there was a geography trip to Swanage, and it was a 3-day trip, and we had to stay there. But anyway, we decided to go on a date there. And in Swanage, you gotta remember, there's not much. It's a seaside town. There really isn't much there, to be honest with you. It's just fish and chip shops and non-halal stuff, which we couldn't eat, obviously, because we were very pious Muslims who had girlfriends and boyfriends. So we couldn't obviously eat there. So the only option we had was fish and chips. Day after day, fish and chips. That was all we could eat. So anyway, we decided to go to a fish and chip shop. And I remember we walked in and the lady was like, "Oh, do you want to share a drink?" And I was like, no. She was like, no. And I think she knew on her face how awkward it was, that person. And we sat down, we ordered fish and chips, and it was fish, chips, and peas. If I can find a picture, I remember she posted a picture of the forgotten fish and chips. If I can find it, I'll put it in the video. But what happened was, we go back to the mental maturity issue. Oh god, I'm getting frustrated talking about it because it was such a stupid. Oh, I regret it so much. Okay, what happened was, my friends came in there as well, and they were sitting on the opposite table to us. Me and her are there, and we're just awkwardly sitting there. Remember, again, dry texter, dry in person as well. We were quite awkward. And I was sitting there and I was losing my shit. I was in my head was like, I'm having a panic attack. I gotta get out of here. I need to leave. And so I text my friend. I'm like, bro, I need to leave. I need to get out of here. And he's like, oh, well, you have to stay. No, stick to it. So I messaged another friend. This bro got me. He decided, okay, I'll send a message, say, I'll talk in person saying, oh, you forgot your keys. Oh, you need to go. And then, so that's what he said. He was like, remember, we're drama students. He gets, I message him. I say out loud, oh, Ibrahim, you forgot your keys or something. And then he does it. And then I quickly get up. I'm like, oh, crap, I remember I gave my keys to the guy and then I have to get it back from him. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come back. I grab my bag, I grab my stuff, I leave, and I never come back. I abandoned her in the fish and chip shop. And I walk outside really guilty, like, oh, maybe I should go back in. Nah, I'm not going to go back in. Maybe I should go, nah. And anyway, eventually we had to go. We had to reach the coach and we had to leave. She had a really crazy friend who I won't name, but she was so angry, rightfully so. I was angry at myself. And she was like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna come to your house. I'm gonna kill you. How dare you do that to Clarkson? And I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, well, this is crazy. I did apologize. I did have enough sense to apologize. I said, I'm sorry. That was a very stupid thing to do. I shouldn't have done it. All the whole shebang. And again, Clarkson is a very calm, forgiving person, so she forgave me. And then after that, I was like, you know what? It's not gonna work. So I told her, look, it's not you, it's me. I can't handle this. It's too much for me. maybe what we can do is she gave me a suggestion. She was like, oh, we could pretend like we're not in a relationship, but we are. We do some of those half relationships. I was like, yeah, that works. We tried it for like very little time, and then I was like, no, it's not gonna work. Let's just not have this relationship. Let's just break up, and we'll just pretend like this never happened. And so that was it. She accepted, and I'm glad that I went out with someone who was very, very calm and nice. She was a million times nicer than me. She had a heart of gold, seriously. Whoever Clarkson goes with next is going to be very happy, I'm sure. But that was the end of that, and that's the story of the time I abandoned my first girlfriend in the fish and chip shop. So yeah, moral of the story is, when you're not ready for relationships, don't jump into them, because it can be a big pain. Maintaining that kind of thing, doing the whole relationship lovey-dovey stuff. I'm sure if I approached it now with my current mindset, we would have lasted much longer. I don't think we would have lasted forever, because I don't think there's any way of getting around sort of like that dry texting stuff and all that. But I don't think we would have lasted forever, but I definitely think we would have lasted longer. We would have gone a lot closer if I was in my current state of mind and did it. But I mean, that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. I remember this story came to me recently when I was looking through my messages, my old pictures, because I had to back up my phone, and I saw some text messages of like the whole situation that were very that showed me. If I can find it, hang on, just give me 1 second. I said, hey, sorry about earlier. I think I had a chat with her friend, and I think it's time I told you the truth. And I said, these are my words. I said, so I'm stuck. I like you, but I don't want to do this relationship thing. It's too much. When I said I had to leave, I wanted some fresh air. I took longer than I thought I would. So what do you want to do? And she was like, oh, well, we can take it at a slow pace if you want to, or we can just unofficially be in a relationship, so it would not be a real relationship, you know what I mean? And I said, that's a good idea. I don't have any messages after that, but that was like the whole thing. And I tried quite a few things. She did message as well. She was like, oh, do you want to meet up? She did try as well. Don't get me wrong. I was like, okay, well, if we can't go out to a restaurant and eat, maybe we can do some activities together. So I asked her if she likes bicycle riding. She didn't like that. So we didn't really get anything off the ground at all. I don't think we ever met in the holidays and stuff. But that was the whole debacle. I did try. I didn't get it to work. And you know what? After that, I never ever went into romance ever again. There was one other girl I had a crush on, like a proper crush on, in my science class. I think she knew as well. I just didn't say anything because I was like, after that whole debacle, I don't think I can. And I actually plan to go out with her. I might as well mention this now because I've got time. It's 18 minutes on this recording, which will probably be cut down a little bit more. But I remember I was thinking of asking her out to the prom, but then COVID came and cancelled that. And then I remember thinking that I'm going to ask her out on Valentine's Day because we were supposed to be free of lockdown in February, but then we weren't, so we were stuck. So I didn't get to do that either. And so after that, I was like, okay, this is just a sign that I'm not supposed to go with her. After that, it'd been like a year as well, so it was like, no, this is not going to work. Let's not do this. But I remember one of the things that really appealed to me is kindness. I think the fact that there were some girls out there who treated me like a human being, people who talked to me without people who laughed at my jokes, people who actually cared what I had to say. At the time, that hit me like a ton of bricks because there weren't many who were able to do that. Strangers, I mean, obviously friends are a different thing, but like strangers, and when I say strangers, I mean people I didn't talk to very often, that were like that. And that really hit me like a ton of bricks because it's like, that's something that I really appreciate. I really did appreciate it back then. Nowadays, I think my tastes have changed a lot. My standards have increased quite a bit, I'd say. But back then, I didn't have very high standards. All I wanted was someone to be nice to me and someone to look good. There are a few things I could probably say extra, but back then, that was what I wanted. And so I got that through Clarkson, and I got that through that second person that I never got to ask out. But that I learned a lot that day that, sometimes it's not really about how they act. Sometimes it's about, you have to look a bit deeper than that. You can't just settle on that. It's sort of like how people go out with others just for their looks, when that's not really a good idea. It's in the same vein as that. You gotta look at people like properly, without that lens in your eyes, and you gotta properly, do you suit that person? Looking back at it now, I think it was very obvious that me and this person didn't have good synergy. We wouldn't have worked well together, and I think that was clear as day. But I went through with it anyway because she showed me kindness, and that's what I wanted. and that's all I asked about. So I think, going back, if I could go back, I'd probably change. I probably wouldn't ask her out at all, to be honest with you, because the synergy thing. But if I could go back, I'd probably look at these things a bit more in detail with all the people that I had crushes on in the past, and actually consider, would that have worked? Because I feel like with someone who I liked in the GCSE era, and then there was someone else who actually knew I liked them in the A-level era as well, who I was very good friends with that person as well. That kind of thing just sort of happens, where you stop looking at people for you stop looking at people as individuals, and you start looking at them through this lens. In your mind, you develop a sort of idea of who that person is, when that's not really the case. Sometimes it happens that you fall for the perception of the person instead of who that person really is, and that's something I did a lot. So I think it's important that you properly check these kinds of things, and you actually make sure, so you don't end up in a situation like I was. Also, make sure you're mentally prepared for it. That's important. I was not mentally prepared for it. And to be honest, if there's anyone in secondary school looking for relationships, this is probably not what you want to hear, but I would abstain from it. It's not worth relationships. They never last, and it's you for that little bit of fun, you're trading a lot of embarrassment and heartbreak and stuff. Luckily for us, it wasn't that bad, because remember, I'm dating someone who's an angel, who didn't get angry at all. So there was no messy breakup. It was just like, I kind of want to break up. Okay, done. So I had it very lucky, but it can get very bad very quickly. And I don't think I've had friends who, I had a friend who had a pretty poor experience with that, and it became the talk of the town as well, because it's not your relationship. In school, it's everyone's relationship. Everyone finds out about it. Everyone gossips about it. It's a big thing. I don't, especially in that time when you care about your public perception, I think that it can be a big deal. So it's, in my opinion, abstain from relationships. It's not worth the time. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.